Okay. So yesterday we have just started about the Java commands. So typically it is called as what command section. Right? So and again, Java commands can be categorized into three types: single line command, multi-line command, and documentation command. I've just shown you how the single line command can be used. Right? We will try to understand the remaining two commands, which is multi-line command and documentation command. The comments are very important because in future whenever you are developing a code, you need to make sure that you are just giving some information, additional description about your code, so that it is going to improve what readability. Generally the commands, all the three commands always going to talk about what readability, right? Readability is nothing but the code could be understood by any developer. To improve what? To improve readability. I can say that to improve readability. Readability. Right. So let's analyze. Let's do some deep dive in the single line command firstly. Then we will discuss about the remaining two commands. So single line commands. So the topic is single line commands. So any description, any Java description is usually followed by the double forward slashes. Double forward slashes, and you define any Java description. This is going to be what? Single line command. And it is very imperative to understand that these single line commands will always be ignored by the compiler. I can just say that any Java description that is followed by a double forward slashes called as single line command, and it usually ends in a single line, and it is completely ignored by the compiler. Ignored by the compiler. Right? This is the case with the single line commands. Right? So again the question is going to be what? Where to use the single line commands? You can use the single line commands anywhere. You can use this anywhere in the program. It can be at the top of the program. It can be like you can specify the method. You can also specify what kind of class you are going to use. Right? You can also specify. You can also give some description, give some additional information to the classes, to the constructors. You can define it anywhere. You have that flexibility. You can define it in the end of the line. You can define it, beginning of the line. So let me take a typical example. This is a small program, small Java program. So this is a typical single line command, a first Java program, right? But again the single line command, this will be ignored by the compiler, and you cannot continue the description in the next line. This cannot be done. This cannot be done. This is not a command anymore. If you want to continue the command in the next line, again use another single line command. My first Java program, I am a developer, and again if you want to continue the description in the next line, the following line, right? And again use the single line command. In order to use that, the double forward slashes. I am a developer, I am learning Java. As simple as that. And again if you want to describe it in the following lines, use the double forward slashes and give the description. I am a beginner. So in this case we have used what? 4 lines of code, and each and every line is recognized as a single line command. And you have an option to use it here. You can use it here as well. This is package name. You can use it anywhere. This is import statement. You have that flexibility. Statement. It has a free. You have a freedom to use it anywhere. You can use it here as well. You can use it here. You can use it anywhere. But it is always recommended to use it on the top of the packages, on the top of the classes, or on the top of the methods. That is highly recommended. However, it will not stop you to use it anywhere in the code. Right? This is all about single line command. Again, we have actually seen one of the famous interview question. It says all the comments are usually ignored by the compiler, isn't it? Right? All the comments are usually ignored by the compiler. So this is ignored by the compiler. So this hello world is going to be ignored by the compiler. If I run this, right, output is going to be blank. We know that, because as soon as the we perform compilation and we start executing the code, the main thread try to get access to the main method, isn't it? Once it is done, it will look for the instructions, but these instructions are not visible to the main thread. Why this is not visible to the main thread? Compiler will not take these instructions to the JVM. Right? This understanding is very, very important. This is the code. Just assume that this is the code. This is the code I have contained the code that I have written here. Just assume that the name of the class is test, right? I have just contained the code here. So here it says test.java. Test.java. This is source code, isn't it? Source code will be converted to what? Dot class files, right? Which is going to do that? Compiler is going to do that, right? So compiler is going to convert the dot class file. So now the test.java is going to get converted to what? Test.class file. Test.class file. And if you try to open this test.class file and you cannot recognize these commands. These commands are always ignored. These commands will not be carried forward after the compiler. It means compiler is going to ignore this command. This command will not get converted to .class file. This will be completely ignored by the compiler. Right? In a nutshell, I can say that compiler is not going to convert the instructions or the descriptions that is specified in a single line command. Everything will be converted to .class file. I mean, every piece of information will be converted, will be considered. This piece of information will be included. Why this will be included? Because it is followed by double forward slashes, and this is considered as a single line command. Right? But there is a little contradiction. What is that contradiction? You can break this rule. You can just break this rule with one Unicode. Right? The Unicode is what? U 000, I mean to say backward slash. This is how a Unicode can be, a typical Unicode can be represented. And again, we will discuss about these Unicodes completely in brief in the primitive data types. So for the time being, Unicodes always starts with a backward slash, and it always starts with U and a 000 D. This 000 D, this specific Unicode is going to represent what? It is going to create a new line. Right? If I run this, now the statement is broken. My explanation is broken. There is a contradiction with my explanation. So this is the only one place where we can break the rule of single line comments. It's the only one place. Single line comments can be broken because of this particular Unicode. This Unicode will always make sure that the instructions that are specified after this Unicode is getting a new line. Visibly we cannot see, but internally this is what happens. Internally this will be treated as a new line. That is making sense. This is only one thing. If anyone is asking you, is there a way that we can break the comment single line comments, or we can break the rule of command line arguments, Java comments? So this is the best example that you can say, that you can highlight, right? So I can simply say the above code is a description in a single line command, and the rule of single line command has been broken with the Unicode, which is /U000T. This is a famous interview question. So this understanding is required. And again, you can ask me what is a Unicode. And Unicode is nothing but it's a kind of like, you can represent any characters. In a nutshell, I can say with the Unicode you can represent any language. Right? You can represent in Tamil language, you can represent Telugu language, you can represent Chinese language. All the international languages can be represented with the help of Unicode. Each and every Unicode has a specific like regional letters. Like if you want to develop a program in your regional language, if you want to display the information in the regional language, Java as an option where these Unicodes will help you out to display something in the regional languages. We will see that will be very interesting topic in the future. Right? We also understand about the internalization concepts. Internalization is nothing but all the languages can be represented in Java. Not only English, you can also represent Tamil, Telugu, and everything in Java. So for the time being, this is what this is the takeaway, right? So this is all about single line commands. Let's discuss about multi-line commands. Secondly, the topic is what multi-line commands. Multi-line. So it is very simple. Any Java description that is followed by one forward slash and star. Any Java description that is followed by one forward slash and what we call it as asterisk, ends with, so I can say like this. You have a big description. If you want to describe something in paragraphs, right, you can go with multi-line comments. You can all the description in line by line. Instead of creating many single line commands, you can do this. This is called as multi-line command. So this will also be ignored by the compiler. This will also be ignored by the compiler. As simple as that. Single line is nothing but every single line needs to be followed with the two forward slashes. And multi-line commands is very simple. The compiler will ignore everything from here to here. Right? Any Java command that is followed by forward slash and an asterisk and ends with forward slash represents multi-line comments, as simple as that. No confusion, very simple. The same thing, this is not in the orderly fashion, isn't it? Not even like, it is not even looking good. Not It's not even looking good. So instead of there is an option to describe the single line comments at some cases, but sometimes you will have to, if I want to like combine all the single line comments into one multi-line comments, I can go for multi-line comments, right? Here I have used 4 single line comments. Instead of using like this, I can do this, right? As simple as that. This is what the multi-line comments are. Instead of using many single line comments, I can go with this option, multi-line comment, so that if you want to give a long description which is more than one line, right? So this will be nice because this is completely organized, isn't it? Right? And again, you can give some additional information about your packages, additional information about your what we call it as classes, methods. This of it could be, right? But if you see this and there are some restrictions for the multi-line comments. What is that? You can always use this in the top of the packages or classes or static methods, right? But the single line comments are not like that. You can use that anywhere. You can use it here as well, like next to the sit here, right? So take this as an example of multi-line comments. Right? And again here also the same thing follows. Compiler is going to ignore everything in the multi-line command. Instead of this, I can use this. Very simple. Everything will be ignored by the compiler. It will not be considered. Okay. So this is all about multi-line commands, and this is very important. Documentation command. Documentation command is it is a high level of doing a documentation. Like you will do a documentation. For example, before even proceeding with this, let us understand this. So when you are trying to purchase any product in the market, any commercial products or any electronic products, and you always, after purchasing, you will see a catalog in the product. For example, if you are purchasing a mobile phone, inside the mobile phone there will be a small a kind of catalog which will show that how to use the phone. There will be some instructions given in the catalog, how to use the phone, like how to use the charger. There will be some set of rules and things that do's and don'ts, right? That is a kind of documentation. That is a kind of what? Documentation for electronic items. For each and every electronic items, like even if you take television, if you take laptops, if you take computers, whatever you purchase in the form of electronics, each and every electronic item will have a small catalog, a kind of catalog which will have the instructions, and it will have stuffs like do's and don'ts the customer can do. This is information that is given to the customer about the electronic product. Along with the information, you will also see something like do's, the things that you can do, and things that you are not supposed to do. And a caution kind of information will also be there, right? Likewise, whenever you are developing a Java program, you can actually document it. Instead of specifying, instead of giving the descriptions in the form of command, I don't want the descriptions. What do you mean by that? So if you ask me, sir, what does it even mean? Let me write a small Java code. So this is the source code. Source code always starts with what? The class name dot Java extension, isn't it? This is the class name. So let me increase the font size. It is going back to the same font. This dot Java. This is the source file. Any file that is with dot Java extension is called source file, right? And again, I have an option to give some descriptions on this source file. But in this now, the documentation documentation document. It's not document, it is comment. Documentation comment. Sorry about it. Documentation command is giving an option. Is giving an option to generate a documentation for this particular source code. So this will remain as a source code. At the same time, I can also generate a kind of documentation for this source code. Right? All the information related to this source code will be transferred to a separate file for the documentation purpose. Right? If I open the source code, I will just see the source code. Right? And if I use a documentation command, this source code will generate a documented file. Additional file it will generate. This additional file is going to have the complete description about my source code. And it is going to generate an additional information. Okay, sir, what are the advantages for this? What kind of advantages I will be getting on this? If you see these previous two examples, all the information, all the descriptions are completely ignored by the compiler. Compiler is ignoring this. It is not even considering this. And after ignoring this, it is generating the dot class file, and this dot class file again will send to JVM for the execution. Again, it will be sent to JVM for the execution. For the execution, these things are not even available. Right? But what if I want to see the documentation? What if I want to see the description during the runtime? So in the real time projects, you will find different teams. Teams like you have a developer and you also have a tester, right? And again, testers are divided into two categories: manual testers, automation testers. Right? Every team, every software team, there are many teams internally. A team can be divided into many internal teams. Depends upon the category they choose. They can be a developer, they can be a tester, they can be the what we call it as database management team. So many different teams will be there, right? So for the testers, they want to come across these commands in the runtime. They want to see these commands in the runtime. So they want to keep this description in handy. Right? Just like a catalog, if you purchase an electronic item, you will get a catalog how to use this and how not to use this. Do's and don't do stuff, isn't it? Likewise, the testers they depend on this documentation, because based upon this documentation, they will understand what kind of code and what actually this code does, and what kind of information can be passed and what cannot be passed for testing purpose. It's called as documentation. Okay, sir, everything is fine. You are talking about the documentation. How to generate this documentation? How to generate the documentation command? Right? So internally, so let me write it here. So this is, let me keep it very simple. This is for single line command. Right? And This talks about multi-line comment. Right? We want to ensure that a documentation is generated. We'll just use like this. This is how a documentation command can be created. I will show you in the. Will show you here. Let's remove all this. Right. So this is a simple Java code, isn't it? I have a main method. I have a class. I want to generate a documentation for this. So the documentation should say there is a class by the name of test, and there is a main method inside the class, and some additional information about this main method. So how do I generate the documentation command? Very simple, right? Forward slash 2 stars, and each and every line is going to have a star. You see, each and every single line is going to have a star, and the end of the documentation is understood with the what we call it as a single forward slash. And the beginning of the documentation is understood with a single forward slash, and each and every line is going to have a star. So this is how a documentation can be generated. Let's generate that. So simple, I can say this is a simple Java program that displays a message in console. A simple Java program that displays a message in the console, right? So let me have a message like hello Ganesh. Let me have two messages, hello Ganesh and hello Samit. Right? So this is a piece of information. This is just a description, and again I can add something here, right? You can add an annotation like author. Right? Author is the developer name. I can mention. I can mention Balaji. Since I am the developer, I can use the developer name what Balaji. Secondly, I can also there is another thing like version. And again, before even proceeding with this, let me explain you author. This all terminologies are related to the Java documentation. Don't ever get confused. It will be very crystal clear. I will conclude that. No worries. Okay. Author. If any word is followed by an at symbol, we usually call it as annotations. Java annotations. Annotations are nothing but any word that is getting followed with at symbol. In this case, author. Author is one of the annotations in Java. So what does it really mean? So author is nothing but you can use this annotation when you want to add the author of the class. Add the author of the class in the sense the developer of the class, who has developed this class. That kind of information can be specified with the help of author annotation. When you want to add the author of the class, right? And secondly, we have another annotation, like I have just used what version annotation, isn't it? Version. This is another annotation. You can define the version. you can add the version to generate a document, and this information can be used when you are updating any changes, when you are updating anything in the code in the future. What does it really mean? I'm using version 1.0. This is a simple code that I have developed. If this code requires any changes in the future, let us say in the future, if I'm trying to add something like, if I'm trying to add an additional code, additional piece of code, right? Updation may happen in the future. Each and every code will get an updation in the future. The code is not going to remain same. Every code will be optimized in the future for the better functionality. So the code will never be the same in the real time as well. To take any real time enterprise application, the code that is developed once will get updated frequently for the better optimization, right? So whenever it is getting an update or whenever the new things are getting added, so this version things will be same 1.0, 1.1, 1.2, because this version thing will give us an information that how many updates this code has gone through, right? Hope that is making sense. So this is the purpose of what version annotation. Secondly, we have also completed version annotation, and since we can also, there is another annotation like @. This is a very specific annotation. We can use this annotation to ensure that to specify the date, actual date the code has the code is developed, on which date the code is inducted. You can say that on which the code is developed, right? So these are the three pieces of informations, and you can there are many other annotations like this. So first let us run this code. Let's run this code, not here. Let me run this code in right. I have used documentation command. So this command is just describing a small information. What kind of information you can able to see here? The name of the author, Balaji, because I have developed this code, the version. Since this is my first code, it is going to be 1.0. And since is nothing but the date the code has been developed, right? So I need to save this, isn't it? How to save this? File, save as class name.java. Test dot, because this is my class name, so test.java. This is self-explanatory. We have seen these things many times, right? So let me open the command prompt. Let me point this to the exact location. CD space Java, right? So what I am trying to do here is, please pay some attention here. This is my source code. So this is what? This is the source code. This is how it is represented, test.java. I want to convert this source code, not conversion. I want to generate a documentation for this source code. Source code will remain the same, but I want to generate an additional documentation. I want to generate a documentation for this source code. Source code will be same. I want to generate documentation, and this source code will go through what? Go through all the phases. Like, let me remove this. Let me move this here. This source code usually it will go through compilation stage, and it will go through a JVM, and output will be displayed. So this is completely independent. But I am also trying to generate a documentation for this source code. Okay. How do I do that? Very simple. Okay. I will be using a simple command. What I will be using a simple command. The command is called java doc. Java doc. Right. This is a command that I can use in the command that can use in the command prompt. So this command is going to generate a documentation. Right? How do I do that? That's the question. Right? Very simple. Java doc. The command to generate a job, and again I am not doing compilation here. For compilation, it is like java c space test.java. That is the compilation command. To generate a documentation, java doc space the source file. Something has happened inside. If you go to that location, see a kind of a documentation thing is generated. The name of the class is test. See, are you able to see? Class name, right? This is a simple Java program that will replace a message in the console, right? And the method information, right? And the static methods information, right? Concrete methods. So these are the internal things, clones, equals, or something internal. All the the source code has been converted into a organized document. Right? With this documentation in future, the testers, they are going to use this kind of documentation. They will be able to analyze what kind of information this class is taking, what kind of methods this class is using. So things related to the program is completely described in an organized way. This is done by Java. This is not done by the developer. Developer can able to give a meaningful description, but there are so many, what we call it as, so many flaws, because developer cannot make sure that the documentation is going to be perfect. There will be some flaws. That is why this Java documentation helping us to develop a documentation in an organized way. Right? For the simple class, this is how the documentation. This is what, and this thing, this part, we are able to convert the source code into the documentation file, right? And this is what it is, right? Which one is which one looks neat and tidy? So this documentation is looking neat and tidy, isn't it? Instead of this description, descriptions are something messy. Right? Documentation is not like that. Now, if you try to perform the compilation, compiler will consider this code. Compiler will not ignore this. Compiler will not ignore this. This will be taken till the execution, because we have independently we are able to independently generate the documentation. This will be used to understand about the particular Java source code. A tester can use this, or any person can use this, right, to understand the particular Java code. Even in the runtime they can use. For example, in the runtime you will be able to see only the results. Right, you will not able to see what we call it as the description. In this case, you will see only the result. What result you will see? Let me try that. Java C space test.java. Compiling Java space test. I have deleted the class file, that's why it is not coming. Java test.test. Okay. It's small chip. Expose 1 minute. Test.java. Okay. Okay, let me try to rerun this. Not sure why it is not coming. So let me run it here only. Okay, this is the runtime information. Hello Ganesh, hello Samyukta, I am a developer. This is runtime information. By looking at this information, right, can you able to understand by looking at the output, can you able to understand how the code was developed or how the code was drafted? It is not possible, isn't it? But with the documentation, it is possible. Looking at this output, and we have a documentation here. By seeing the documentation, by seeing the output, we can able to guess what kind of input it is taking and what kind of output it is displaying. This is one of the advantages of Java documentation, right? So, and these are the simple things. Author is an annotation and version is an annotation, and there are many other annotations. Example, let me take this example. If you see this example, this is the documentation command. So in this command, I am using what? Some description like add number program implements an application, something, right? And here I have included author name, version, something like the date it was installed, right? So I have a class information. So this is information regarding the class. Oh, no, sorry, this is information regarding the method. So this method is taking two inputs and is adding these two inputs and returning it as an output. That's what it says. Parameter number A. So this is first parameter to the. So we are just specifying what this number A is taking. This number A is a parameter. It is taking an integer. This number B is a parameter. It is taking an integer. And this number A and number B is performing the addition of two numbers. That information is given here. This will be documented. Likewise, and information regarding this main method is given here. There are some additional annotations. You do not have to worry about these annotations. These annotations are what we call it as a little complicated. We will be able to understand this in the future topics. But our focus should be on what does it exactly mean to be a documentation comment. Right? Hope you're able to follow. So let me give you some more theory here. You can say that Java doc, say command or tool that comes along with the JDK. JDK is nothing but Java development kit. I will help you in installing the JDK after 2 days. The JDK stands for, it's an acronym, it stands for Java Development Kit. And this command is used to generate a documentation in the HTML form. HTML format. Right? The developers do not need to worry about description and some annotations are required to add to generate the meaningful and organized documentation. And this is all about what documentation command. This is very important thing. It looks very simple, but it is very important thing. In future, if you are trying to develop any program, you will be given a task like to develop a particular functionality by taking some inputs and it has to give some output. In that case, your job is to make sure that the things are properly documented. How the things will be documented properly with the help of documentation commands. Sometimes you can also use single line commands and multi-line commands, depends upon the requirement. But this documentation commands needs to be submitted so that the testers, the API testers, they will be using this documentation to test your program, to test your functionality. If you ask me, is this topic done? This is not done. This is just a simple understanding. In future, we will come across this topic very often, and I will be introducing you some more annotations. So let me run this example. This is the example that I have taken. Let me run this. The name of the class is add number. Nothing. I have a simple method, and I have a main method. There are two methods. One is main method, and one is the user defined method. This method, what this method does, it is taking two inputs and it is adding those two inputs and returning it as an output. As simple as that. That knowledge is enough for me. Taking two numbers and adding those two numbers. So the description is given in such a way that it's taking two numbers and it's adding two numbers. Here the descriptions are like two parameters, isn't it? That's why there are two param. This is a param annotation. This is a param annotation. This is a typical annotation where it is used to specify what kind of input that is taking. Right? What by written annotation is nothing but what kind of output it is generating. Right? So since the inputs are two numbers and output is also a number, but it is performing addition. Two inputs are taken independently and two inputs are combined together to give the output. That information is given here, as simple as that. And this information regarding this main method, information is given here. And regarding the class, regarding the developer information, version information, this information is given here. You cannot specify the similar information as per your, as per your methods or as per your functionality. You will be designing your own documentation, right? This is one of the typical documentation that I am giving it as an example. So let us run this. Let me delete all this. Right? Before even running this, let me save this. File save as. So the name of the class is add number. So let me save it that add.java. It has been saved successfully. Let us perform the documentation. So this is a source code. Now what I am trying to do, I am trying to generate a documentation. From this source code, I am trying to generate a documentation. I am not performing compilation or execution. I am trying to generate a documentation. I need this source code information in an organized way, in the form of documentation, right? In order to do that, I will be using a simple command, which is java doc space the name of the file, name of the source file, add number doc. Yes, it is generated. Let us go back there. So these are the previously it was empty, isn't it? Now see, these are the files. Let's get into this. All the information regarding to that source file has been given here. Add two numbers, detailed information in an organized way, right? Date, right? The name of the class, right? All the methods, method information, right? Method details. So the parameter information, number A, this is the first parameter, second parameter. What it is returning sum of number A and number B, and information about the main method in an organized fashion. This information, these details can be used by the tester or any person in the team to analyze about your functionality, to analyze about your method. Hope this is making more sense now. I will share you these examples to you. And in a nutshell, let me conclude this. Okay, let me start from the beginning. Single line comment, Java comments are categorized into three types: single line comment, multi-line, documentation. The first two comments are self-explanatory. So the first two comments, you cannot generate a documentation for these two comments. You will just add the comment lines on the source code, anywhere in the source code, and this will always be ignored by the compiler. But my requirement is I want to make sure that this documentation or description is available for me in the runtime also. Right? In order to do that, what I can go for documentation. Documentation can help me out to generate a unique documentation with the help of java.comment. I can carry this documentation, right? At the same time, I can also this will be independent. Compilation execution will be independent. Before even performing this, I can generate the documentation before. I can carry this documentation along with me, and by looking at the results and by looking at the documentation, I can conclude that what kind of functionality or what kind of inputs that a particular class is taking inside and what kind of output it is generating. Conclusion will be given by this documentation. Right? So there are only these three Java comments. So I hope this is making some sense. Just type yes in the chat box if you have understood till now.